Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and it is Triple Play Day, so I'm here with Misty and with Natalie. And a while ago, Natalie made this wonderful quilt we all fell in love with called Connected Stars.
Yes, it was a cute little table runner.
Yeah, it was just a runner, just a little runner, but we love the pattern so much, so we decided to include that in our lineup this year of Triple Play Blocks to Do. So we are going to teach you 3 different ways to make connected stars. And I love when we do that. It's just so much, it's just so fun for our brains to do that. So Natalie, yours is hanging behind us, and I guess we're going to start with you.
Yep.
So shall we get started?
All right.
Okay. All right, so Natalie, this is your quilt.
Yeah,
I love it.
So basically I kept the block, original size, original construction. I just made more of them because I thought, how cool would a whole quilt look? And I think it turned out so great. So the one other change that I made is I added a border block to finish out these squares that go along the edge. And I just think it turned out so cool. It's really only one block. Beautiful. You just turn it back and forth. And so perfect. I think it's going to be great. So you guys are going to love it. I promise. All right. So to make my quilt, you'll need 1 packet of print squares, 10 inches. And I've used Poppies and Plumes by Lila Tueller for Riley Blake.
It's a beautiful line.
You'll also need a background pack. And I just used a Kona white. Your outer border is this really fun floral. You'll need a yard and an 1/8 for that. And it's a 5-inch border. Pretty. And then your backing is 4.5 yards with a vertical seam. You could use 2 yards of 108, but I think that's probably more than you need. So this is your backing. I just think it's so pretty. I love this fabric. I actually used it on the binding as well because I thought it just looked so good.
It's really cute.
That's really
it's super fun. So this quilt is 63 by 72, and I've machine quilted it with time warp, which is obviously one of my most favorite machine quilting patterns.
And you need a couple of templates.
Yep. So helpful tools are these Bloc Loc rulers. This one is so great for doing all of your half rectangle triangles, and whatever your favorite squaring tool is for half square triangles, because they are many.
Yes.
All right, so let's get started.
Perfect.
All right, so this is our main block, and this is our border block. So we're going to be making both of these multiple times.
And I have to say,
and they're really
this
tiny.
does not look at all like a star.
No,
so I love
it
how
doesn't.
it comes together.
It doesn't, but you'll see when you put these together, you create these star legs.
Right.
So it's really, really fun. And they're made from very similar elements, and the extras on this are just background strips. So we're going to make quite a few different cuts from our background fabric, and we'll just kind of do those as we go along.
Okay.
And you'll have numbers in the pattern if you want to go ahead and cut everything ahead of time, but that's totally up to you. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to pair a background square with a print square. Let's use this one. It's kind of pretty.
They're all pretty.
They are all pretty. I have some cut already, so we can just get right into that. But what we're going to do is cut these into 5-inch squares first. And if your squares are different sizes, just center them up because we're going to cut these all down to 2-inch widths. So you have a little play, a little room. All right. So we will start by making our half square triangles. And what we're going to do for that is draw a line diagonally. And we're going to make the 8 using charm squares.
Oh gosh.
So this is pretty little, but they're so cute.
I love it.
Yep. All right, so if you will stitch those.
And this is fun to remember because on any block you can do this method. Any size block, you know. And sometimes it's a surprise what size your half square triangles come out.
Yeah.
But it's a great way if you're looking for different sizes to try different things.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So we went up and down one side.
Yep.
We're going
And I love the thing that you always say, you know, it's not more difficult, it's just smaller.
It's just
you just
smaller.
need to have a little bit of patience and
Yeah.
just clearing some space because we're going to do some cutting and some squaring. All right, so we are going to first cut these in half vertically and horizontally.
You know, I was watching somebody else teach this method and they said to cut on the lines first. And I have to say that cut where there are no lines first,
I
because
agree.
that's where it's horizontally and vertically. And
yeah.
it's harder to put together a little angle, because later you can cut on all the angles. You can cut on the
Right.
drawn lines. But if you cut
Right.
where there are no lines first, it's a little helpful.
All right, so if you will
I
press
will.
a couple of these, then we will go ahead and square them to 2 inches. And you're gonna do this with a bunch of triangles because you kind of wanna make them scrappy. So I have some already made, but we will go ahead and square up these 2 so we can use them in our blocks.
This one.
Okay.
And here's this one.
All right, so
And
you have plenty of play. These actually come out closer to like 2 1/4. So you have room to make them nice and square. I wanted the extra room because, you know, when you're doing the make 8, if your seam allowance isn't quite perfect,
can get
some of them can be bigger and some can be
Yeah.
smaller. And so I just wanted to make sure that I had plenty of space to get the size that I needed.
And you need 2 half square triangles for each of these little blocks.
Yes. And they don't have to match, but they can. It's completely up to you. The other thing we haven't done yet
And wait.
is all of the color play.
So did you guys see what she did right there? She didn't lift the ruler. She just flipped it around and slid it down.
So if you,
I love that.
If it's locked in really well and you have a smooth cutting mat, it doesn't work. Like I have a really old worn out mat at home. And when I try to spin it, sometimes it catches on the...
I know where you can get a new one of those.
Okay, all right. You don't have to call me out. It's fine. All right, so then we're going to spin it and slide it down to the 2.
That's just a great hack, because usually, you know, we're like relining up everything and what
Yeah.
side do the words go on.
Just
and
saves a
all that.
little time.
But yeah, no, it's great for that. So now we're going to make our half rectangle triangles. We've got our 2.5 inch strips cut, and we're going to do a cut that goes from top left to bottom right. And that's because we want all of those half rectangle triangles to be that direction with the wide part at the bottom left. So just make sure that they all get cut that direction and you'll be good to go. Then what we're going to do is combine these with our background squares, and we want to make sure they all end up looking just like this with the wide print at the bottom left. As long as you've got this, your star legs are all going to come out
How you want them to.
just exactly how you want them. So if you will stitch one of these together for me.
Yep.
That will be great. And I found that doing it this way just is a lot easier for me with the little squares. You can draw a line and do stitching on both sides like you would do with a half square triangle. That's completely a preference. It's the same, it's just a different method to get you to the same
Hopefully
point.
that's okay. I kind of veered a little bit.
It
there.
should be fine.
Okay.
These also give us plenty of room for squaring.
Okay.
So, and I have some of those made up already, so we don't have to finish these guys. But now I'm going to show you how to square these with this really cool Bloc Loc. You need the A template, by the way. The set comes with an A and a B, and that's just directional, which direction your half square triangle seam goes. So what we're going to do here, what we're looking for is a 2 inch by 3.5. So you want to go to where your 3.5 and your 2 inch line is on one side, and you'll see that this whole thing measures pretty much 2 inches already stitched.
Okay.
So we're kind of just cutting off the sides to make it the length that you need it, and that works out really well. You'll also notice, I don't know if you can get in close enough on this, but you are going to have a space here where it kind of looks like you're losing your point, so to speak, but you're actually not. You need that section in order to get the point.
Okay.
Okay.
I get the point.
You get the point? Excellent.
Point made.
So we've got this lined up with our 2 inches, and it is going to work out perfectly. We're still going to spin it and slide it down. If it doesn't slide, just pick it up and move it. We need a 3.5 inch length and a 2 inch width. So that is how that looks when it's all said and done. And you can just remove that little dog ear from there. So that's it. Those are our little half rectangle triangles.
Very cool.
Cute.
And they will have a little bit of fabric space there. So don't be worried about that. Okay, so from our background, we're going to need some 2 inch squares, and we are just about ready to put this block together. So we're going to take one of our half rectangle triangles and combine it. Oh, one more thing we need. I almost forgot. I'll cut some of these. We need some 2-inch print and 2-inch background squares. And I had the background squares cut, but not the print squares. So let me cut some of these.
And this is all out of that same original
All out of that
layer
yep,
cake.
That same one.
And then you
now,
said you just scrapped it up.
And in the pattern, it's like, okay, pull out 25 and cut them all into 2-inch squares. And so you can do it that way too, whichever method makes sense for you.
Okay.
So we need 2 of these, and I think I will go ahead and cut one of these so that I have some variety. Just to give us a couple more squares to work with. Because I like them very scrappy, but I haven't experimented yet with color. Yeah. And I think that there's so many fun things we could do as far as lining up and gradients and darks and lights and all kinds of cool things. Okay, so first we're going to do our little layout. So you've got a block and a half rectangle triangle. Then we're going to combine our half square triangles with a background block in the middle. And then one more half square triangle this way. These go in opposite directions facing. Then we need one more, let's see. How about this? How about this one? So this guy goes like that. And then we've got one more square down here in the bottom. And that is your block. So we're ready to stitch it together.
All right.
So I'll give you these 2. And then those 2. Yeah, they're just little guys. So you just have to be a little patient. You may want to shorten your stitch length because your seams are so small and you don't want them to pull apart. Okay, so just on this one here, we're going to add our second half square triangle. And so if you'll press that.
I'm just waiting ever so patiently.
And we just want to make sure that our wide is like in opposite directions.
Okay,
yeah.
Perfect.
I do think it's very cool that all your legs just go the same way.
Right, yeah. If you wanted to, you could,
good for brains.
You could create them, chain stitch the whole pile of how many you need, and then put your blocks together once you have those elements made.
Especially since it's all scrappy. You can just sit and sew.
Yep. It works out really well. So, once you've made all of this part and then you've made that part, you can just start creating subsets. Okay, so this goes, oops, I got backwards. It goes like that, and this goes like this. So now you can stitch those together and then add this one to the other side.
All right.
We're so close. And then the next block is even easier because you just have half a star to make.
That's awesome. I love too that you were able to finish the border. I love that look where it's all finished up and done.
I love that.
I do too. I think it's really cool.
Make sure I've got this going opposite. Yes.
That's right. So your half square triangles match up with your print squares.
Nice. Oh, on that middle row when you saw them together. Yeah, I was ruminating that in my brain.
There we go.
All right, one more quick press.
All right, here's your block.
Okay, very cool. So this is our finished block. And what we want is to make sure that it is 5 inches, and it is. If you have some seams that kind of get a little wonky, you can trim it up a bit, but you don't want to lose your points. So this goes in the quilt. This is the main block, and these are the ones that you're going to just spin and put together just like that.
I love it so much.
And they create the stars. All right, so let's do our outer border block. So this is made with the same elements. So we're going to pull down a half rectangle triangle. It's kind of a mouthful. And then we're going to add a half square triangle and an additional little block. Oh, see, I thought I had some of these made. I just didn't see them. There they are. We'll put one of those guys in there. And then from our background squares, we're going to cut some 2 by 3.5 to fit here. And then this is a 2 by 5 inch because our block finishes at 5 inches.
Yeah.
So that's it. You're just adding a couple of solid background prints. Okay, so this is our outer border block, and you'll just make a bunch of those. And let me show you how these go on the quilt. So Misty, will you help me out
Of
here?
course.
I love that you have an outer border block, that it finishes
Yes.
it up.
So
here's
the
our
main
regular.
blocks make up the entire middle of the quilt. You'll see there's an outer piece border all the way around. And this outer border block just turns. So we'll start it like this, and then we'll turn it this way to finish off these blocks.
That's so simple.
Does
I
that
love
make
it.
Yeah,
It
it
is
is
so
so
simple.
simple. There's
It's-
no inner border, just a 5-inch outer border and quilted and bound how you want it.
Beautiful, Natalie.
So I
It looks
think
like
it's
you
really
worked so
fun.
hard, but it's very fun.
So it's not hard. It's a little
just-
bit time consuming because you're working with lots of
lot of
small
small
pieces, but
pieces.
it's very rewarding when you finish it. It's just beautiful.
Super
It's really
rewarding. I
beautiful.
just love it.
All right, so who's up
All right.
next?
Well,
I think I am.
Okay, I'm excited.
All right, Misty, well, it looks like you're up.
All right, this is mine. And so since Natalie covered the tiny, I thought we better, make it big, blow it up. And so that's what I've done here. This is my quilt.
And it's exactly the same as Natalie's.
Exactly the
Just
same,
bigger.
just bigger. And
I love that.
And
Look
so-
how different it looks.
isn't it so fun?
Yeah.
It's really pretty.
So let me show you what you need to make this. You're going to need 1 package of 10-inch squares. I used this beautiful Enchanted Bloom by Stephanie Organis for Andover. I used Kona Snow for my background. You're also going to need a 10-inch pack of that. To finish out these blocks, you need 3 more 10-inch print squares.
Okay.
So you're going to need 1/3 of a yard of accent fabric and then 4.5 yards for your backing.
Okay.
And so here is that backing, this fun peacock feather.
Oh, that's darling.
so pretty.
And I also quilted it in time warp. We
It's
love
just
that
a great.
one.
It's great. It's great.
And it measures 72 inches square.
I'm trying to remember what I quilted mine in. We may have had a triple
I
play of the
guess
triple play
we'll
of the
find
quilting.
out.
Maybe.
We'll find out.
And then you'll also need those same Bloc Loc rulers. They make it really, really, easy.
It's so handy.
So be sure to grab those, and let me show you how to make this. So I have some squares here. First up, we are going to take one of our 10-inch squares, and we are just going to subcut this into 4.5-inch squares.
Nice.
And so let me do that here. And you'll get 4 out of each of these. There's that.
Just a little bit for your crumb quilt.
Yeah,
box.
exactly. Just add that to
little
your little
1-inch
string
strip.
bin.
That's right.
And we can stack these up. And make sure they're lined up. That little pattern on there was throwing me off a bit for a second. Couldn't tell if they were in line. All right. There's one. And one more. And the cool thing to keep in mind is if you don't like those peaked edges, you can totally trim them off since you're trimming this all down to 4.5 and you don't have to worry about those. They don't really bother me, so I just left them.
Yeah.
And so then now we can make our half square triangles. So you're going to take a background square and a print square, and we're going to stack those right sides together. And just like Natalie did, we're going to draw that line corner to corner and sew on both sides. I've gone ahead and done that here. So I have that ready to go. And now we can trim this to get our half square triangles.
I love that what this shows is that you can do the same thing on different sizes.
Yes.
And the methods are the same, the construction's the same. You just end up with different size quilt.
Different size quilt.
And a whole different look, which is very fun.
I agree. So now we've cut our squares and we can then cut on the lines that we drew. I also agree that is the easiest way by far. So if you want to press those.
Sure.
Then
And this is a great method for making half square triangles because it just
Absolutely.
goes so fast. You get 8 in a square, and
you only
it
need
just goes
2
so fast.
for your block itself. So we'll just go ahead and use these 2. That
Oh,
Nat
and it
is-
looks like you kept your matching sets
I
together.
did. I
That's
absolutely
cool.
did. So since the quilt itself was going to look so scrappy, within the blocks I kept prints
nice.
together.
Uh-huh.
So we'll just go ahead and trim these to 4.5, which is the size of this Bloc Loc. And so I always remember the logo goes on the background.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can just line that right up and trim off any excess we have. And then spin. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And trim off this other little bit. There's that. And then we have one more to square. Just like so.
And you can actually square these with any square tool that has the
That's
diagonal line.
absolutely true.
Yes.
You don't have to have the Bloc Loc.
Yeah, we
For
love
half
it.
square
but-
triangles, you can use a regular square or
Yeah.
your clearly perfect slotted
Right.
trimmers.
Whatever you have on hand is going to do the job.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so then we can set those aside. And now we can move on to our half rectangle triangles. And just like Natalie did, it's the exact same thing, only bigger. So we've got our two 10-inch squares. We've got those stacked up. And we are just going to make sure they're all lined up. We'll cut those in half. And then pull them apart. And so, again, you need to make sure you're cutting these the exact same every time.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just slide it like this. And cut corner to corner. I also found this way easier than shifting them. I think it's...
I don't mind the method where you draw the line and then, but you have to spin it a certain way.
Every
and
time.
It gets a little confusing for my head, especially because these ones had to go the same direction.
Exactly. And so then now we can just flip that. And if you want to sew two of these for me,
I
we're
would
going to
be
need
happy
two.
to.
And you just line them up point to point.
Exactly.
So there's
Is it
no
point to point, or do you have a little hang off? Because I've seen it looks
honestly
like
because we're squaring them down.
really
it doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
I kept mine lined up point to point, and they all just worked out fine.
okay. Point to point. I still have a little bit of hang off.
All
That
right.
should be okay.
It'll be fine.
There's a bit.
Maybe
of
that's too much
give.
information for our audience. I have a little bit of a hangover.
Oh,
No,
good.
Oh gosh.
A different kind.
I don't even drink.
We're not gonna.
Oh, where did I put? There it is. I lost the little trimmer.
There we go.
There's one of those, and I'll press that one
All
for you.
right. So now we can square this up, and it's actually super convenient because it's just the size of this ruler. So you don't have to
Nice.
slide
Nice.
it. You're just,
So cool.
it's so simple. And so you can just trim it and get these out of the way. I just like to use that little notch, get it out of the way, and then we can trim off this bottom edge. Make sure.
So these end up 4.5 by 8.5.
4.5 by 8.5, exactly. And so let's go ahead and trim the other one. Same thing. Sometimes you have to slide it just a little bit if it gets a little narrow.
Well, yeah, you're just looking to make sure that the
The
seam
width.
lines up with the width, and that always gives you that little bit of seam allowance that you need.
Exactly. So we'll just trim that off and spin this around. There we go. All right, so now all of our components are made. The only other thing you're gonna need is you're gonna cut some 4.5-inch background squares as well out of your background prints. And so let's go ahead and put our pieces together. So now we're ready for the layout. So let's go ahead. I have a finished block here, and I just think it's easier to look at this to reference. And so we're gonna take our print 4.5-inch squares, and I put those in opposite corners, and then our background goes in the middle. And then our legs are gonna match up this way. And our half square triangles will set in this way. So again, just like Natalie's, just jumbo sized. And so you're just gonna
Awesome.
sew those units together until you get your finished block like this.
So fun.
And then it just fits in the quilt. And we just rotate it back and forth. And so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across by 6 down. And it just makes this great quilt. I love it so much.
It's so good.
It's
Such a
really
fun-
beautiful.
Thank
It's a great
you.
size too.
It
Good for
really is.
Picnics.
Oh
and-
gosh, yeah, it's just perfect.
It is. All right, Jamie,
Well,
you're up
I gotta
next.
show you what I'm doing.
All right.
So I guess it's my turn. Let's look at
Yes.
this quilt.
Oh, I love it.
It's
So-
so great.
So this is so fun because with just a little bit of a change, we've made a whole different quilt. And our change comes about in this middle center star square here. So instead of having it a solid or a 4-patch, we've added a half square triangle to give it this whole different look. I went with the big stars like Misty did, and so let me show you how to make this. So to make this quilt, you're going to need 1 packet of 10-inch squares, and we have used Summersault by Tamara Kate for Windham Fabrics. It's just a darling line. I just think it's so happy. You're also going to need some background fabric. We used 1 packet of 10-inch squares, Kona solids, and then you're also going to need a little bit more because I did the border like Natalie did.
So a yard
And
and
so
an eighth.
for that, yeah, you need a yard and an eighth. Our outside border is a nice big 6-inch border. And so that's a yard and a half for that. And the backing, let me show you this backing. And for the backing, you're going to need 7 3/4 yards. Look how fun this is.
So pretty.
It is.
It's just so cute and happy.
I love it.
I did not do the same quilting thing as you girls
No.
did. I did sticky buns. And this makes a nice big quilt. It is 83 by 83. So it's a nice big square quilt. And I just want to show you one more thing because this line comes with a panel. And the panel is so cute. I didn't use it in this project, but it's so cute. And I just want to show you how darling this is. So let me grab it here. It has 4 different motifs on it.
Oh,
That
it's
is-
upside down.
And I just think they
they're
just
so cute.
so great. I just think they really
Butterflies and
represent
moths.
the happiness of this fabric.
That's
I love it.
really fun.
I love it. It's
And
beautiful.
I didn't use it, but I wanted to show you because I just think that
Well, it
it's
looks like it's got like some drunkard's path
Yeah,
curves
it
with
on
the
does.
curves around
It's just
it.
really,
so if you're
really
looking
cute.
for like a perfect points on sewing curves.
There you go.
And yes, for mine, you will also need these templates, template A and a squaring tool. Okay, so let me show you how to make this. This is the star block that we're going for right here. And it makes these quarter stars that when you put them together, they make the big star. And so just like Misty and Natalie did, I'm going to show you how to do it. I have all the pieces right here. We've made the legs on the previous 2 quilts. We've made our half square triangles. They're done exactly the same way. We do the easy 8. And so we're going to put this here, and I'm just going to build the block for you. So this one goes in right here. This one goes together like this. And then we're going to do this second row. So we're going to put our middle block and our bottom half square triangle down here. And then we need to put our leg on the other side. So we're going to come here with our leg. And then up here, we're going to have this other block right here.
I love it.
And
It's
so,
so great.
this is what makes a difference. These squares right here are what makes a difference. So let me take my block back to the quilt and show you how it works. So we're right here in this big middle star, and this is our block right here. We're going to go like this. So see how the star legs form up, and then this middle now is kind of a square set on point because we've added half square triangles in here. So we did this for all the middle blocks of the stars, and then of course we made our big outside border block, which finishes the star. So out here on this edge, we have this block, and we're going to build that one together as well. So let me just rearrange some of these pieces. So we've got a long leg here, and we've got a half square triangle here. And then we've got another one right here. And then we're going to put in our large pieces of background. So we have this 4.5 by 8-inch piece right here.
8.5.
8.5, thank you. And then this one is 4.5 by... What's that end up? 12.5. These are nice big 12.5-inch blocks. And then these blocks, as you put them around the border right here, you're just going to turn them. So let's do it. So here we go this way. And you're just going to turn these like this. Can you see that? Maybe I should go across the top. So if we have this set up right here, and every block is just going to be turned until you finish and border out all your stars
it.
and just put it
so
together. I just love, I love that you came up with that border idea because, you know, I always feel so bad for a star that has lost its legs. It's outer legs out there, and I love that it's finished. I think that's really, really fun. So while we were talking here, I know that mine was pretty quick. We've done all the things with the other ones, but while we were talking, this has been such a fun block. Natalie even came up with 3 more ideas
There's
of
so
things
many
we could
different
do.
things you can do in that middle space.
There
or,
is.
You know.
It's such a fun what if block. So if you have any ideas, stick them down there in the comments. All right, girls, I think we're done for this one. Shall we get our projects?
Oh, yeah.
So doing this Connected Stars block has been really fun for all of us, I think. We've really enjoyed the what-if factors in making this quilt, and we hope you enjoyed this triple play on the Connected Stars quilt from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. I'm here with Misty and Natalie, and we do a show called Triple Play. We love sewing together as a family, and we would like you to join us as we shoot for 1 million quilters.
I can't believe we're so close.
We're so close to 1 million, so hit that subscribe button and join us today.